Palacios. In the artistic world, I am known as the goddess on wheels. So anyway, I actually brought 2 books. Yes, I'm a writer, I'm a poet. I think that I just mainly have a crazy, wild muse that never sleeps and never rests, you know, so the voices in my head keep telling me to write and I obey, kind of thing. But anyway, I have 2 books. The first one is called Poetic Confessions, and it's a nice, big, thick, 300 and some page book. And mainly, it's poetic storytelling. That's what I like calling it, or narrative poetry, poetic storytelling. And I really didn't even think much about it until pen to paper inspired me. Pen to paper inspired me because I submitted one of my pieces without even realizing that what I was doing was poetic storytelling. And when I won the grand prize in 2013 for that one poem, I was like, oh shit, I can really do this, you know? So this is this book, and it's a very personal collection, and it has a warning label in the back, which is too small for me to see, but hopefully you can, where it does tell you that it does contain adult content, not for children under 18. Anyway, this book is very personal, and it's divided into 3 chapters. The very first chapter focuses on my early experiences. And by the way, it's all surrounding the experience of being me, a woman with a disability, a woman who grew up with a disability. So it's divided into 3 chapters. The first chapter is called, what is it called? I've read this book from cover to cover, time after time, Undressing Love. And so each chapter in the book is named after a poem. Okay? The second chapter is Love Affair in the Kitchen. I love to cook. And so I've turned my experiences in the kitchen into something lusty and romantic and steamy and just shit, my muse, you know. And then the last chapter, it's just pretty much, it's called A Box Full of Men. I will not say any further. That's kind of like I like to call it my little mental black book. So anyway, I will be sharing pieces from this book, strong on the theme of life with a disability. All right, and also I want to introduce you. I only brought like maybe 3 or 4 of these books. Sadly, I had run out. But I'm a huge Frida Kahlo fan.
Yeah.
Clap if you know Frida. Yeah. Right. So I'm a huge Frida Kahlo fan, and I call myself Frida's poetic reincarnation because Frida painted, and I paint with words. You know, so this is called Dressing Skeletons. And what I would like to do, even though this is my main baby, you know, because Frida is such an important part of my life, I will share maybe 1 or 2 from these books. Okay, well, we're gonna put Dressing Skeletons on the side for now, and we're gonna start sharing from Poetic Confessions. And I did everything myself, all right? I self-published, I organized the manuscript, I did everything together. The only thing I didn't do was edit. I have a very talented editor who does everything else for me. The picture on the book, I'm holding upside down. Oh, what? Shoot. I'm promoting my book upside down. All right. The picture in the book is actually my cleavage, believe it or not. Right. My son, who was a little boy at the time, found this butterfly. Mama, 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 I found this butterfly. Something must have wrong with it because it couldn't fly, but I'm like, quickly, take a picture, put it on my cleavage, you know. So that's the story behind the book. And also, all the poems in this book, I did not, Susie, I did not go crazy and wrote all these poems in 10 years, no. What I did is I went back and I started thinking, shit, I'm really good poetic storyteller. So I grabbed not all, but the majority of my poems that I had been writing over the last 10 years and turned it into this collection. And if you notice, this is volume 1. Obviously, my editor did not want to publish a 600-page poetry book. So we did volume 1, volume 2, and volume 3 is to be written, so hopefully my muse will be as prolific. Anyway, going back to the theme of disability, I would like to begin with maybe a couple of pieces from chapter 1, and that will kind of like lead you. By the way, my disabilities, I had polio when I was 9 months old, so I grew up having a disability, and I know that while not everybody's experience is the same having a disability, I also do recognize that many of our experiences collectively seem to have certain things that we can relate to one another, and I have learned over the years that sexuality and sensuality is one of them, because the one thing that is mainly taken away from us the minute that we get labeled as being disabled, our sexuality goes out the window. The same happens when you turn 60 for some reason. I don't know why. I have 10 years to go, but shit, so I'll always be sexy. That's just my philosophy.
Nobody told me.
Right? So I would like to share, okay, here I go crazy. I hope nobody saw, yeah, you're videotaping. Oh, yeah, I'm sexy anyway. All right. Okay, so I'm going to read a couple of pieces from chapter 1 first. This one, and it all begins kind of like nice and smooth, and then it gets more and more corrupted throughout the book. Okay, so I'll start with a nice, easy one, okay, of my childhood. This one is called The Magic of Avocados, all right? Avocados had magic. Back when my mother rubbed avocado on my legs, spreading its green softness over the immobile memories left behind by polio. She chose the right ones, the ones with the life experience necessary to easily venture into a different form, into the magic paste I wore as I sat in a sunny spot for half an hour every morning. By age 4, I knew the magic of avocados stemmed from my mother's love. Without it, the avocado would have been just another fruit. Its qualities wouldn't have sprouted hope between her fingers as she scooped it out of the bowl after it had been carefully mashed into dreams of walking legs and friendly feet that were unafraid of motion. I knew this. I guess deep down I already understood no magic could reverse the irreversible. But I never said this to my mother. I did not want her to lose the spark in her eyes, the light of her smile as she squeezed magic out of avocados each day. Funny how some memories are too stubborn, can turn the page, are too stubborn to gracefully fade into the past. Some rest quietly in some comfortable place in my mind where it hibernates until I cut the next avocado. 4 decades have passed since the last sunny morning when I sat with my legs embraced by avocado magic until it darkened on my skin. Its lively green gone, gone to where dreams go, gone to the green pastures my feet never got to know. Avocados had magic back then. I suppose they still do. Sometimes they rest in a bowl, their luxurious presence bringing a salad to life. Sometimes they sit in a basket, waiting for the moment when once again they transform, evolve, jump out of their skin, and become dream, memory, and eventually poem. Okay, so that was an early experience. Obviously, in this poem, I'm like 4 or 6 years old, you know. Okay, I'm actually now going to move to. I will read you the winning poem. How about that, Susie? Yeah? Yeah, I'll read you the winning poem. This is called Summer of 17. And I won't tell you any more about it because, you know, this poem tells you itself. Sorry, new book. You taught me how to drive, and I taught you how to kiss. Although I was 17 and you were 22. I fell in love thinking I was learning from you, and I was, and I did. To me, you represented the grip independence I wanted to own, the freedom I wanted to have. You were the virgin quad who broke his neck once upon a sunset early in his youth. I was the crippled girl who at 17 had no virginity to give, despite my polio years, despite my scars, and my own personal wars with my body. You were the first crip lover in my life, the one who taught me to drive between necking sessions, steamed up windows, and moments of guilt. But you always gave in to the temptations of my body. Even when you went to church the following Sunday, pretending nothing happened, attempting to forget my lips, the meeting of our mouths, the buttons of my blouse, which I kept for years after loving you. I'm funny with love memorabilia like that. I keep things for a long time and then one day let go of them as if they had never mattered. Perhaps that's when things become more personal and more eternal, for they only exist in our memory. And memories of us, I have plenty of. Like the rainy day I took off and went to your place instead of going to school. We were both such fools when it came to love. Although you claimed to not love me as much as I soared to love you at the time. I was just a girl in your life who fell in love with the idea of you and with your car. Even after I drove it into a ditch and never really learned to drive without fear. I was better at teaching you to love and making love on rainy days, writing poems you read in silence and kept folded in your Bible like the good Christian you were. You so wanted to say no, but my cleavage had learned to swallow your name, and your hands had memorized the detours of my body. So there I was, this 17-year-old girl, driving you mad and driving your car. And it's not like it was easy for us. Making the transfer to the driver's seat meant having to deal with moving our wheelchairs out of the car and putting them back, creatively using our abilities, learning each other's ways of moving and trusting a world not made to accommodate our needs, not able to understand our dreams. Driving to us meant driving with hand controls, to then lose control of ourselves again, kissing until we swallowed each other's soul, and then try to figure out how to get back to where we were so you could drive me home, where I would lie to my mother and you would lie to yourself and to your church. I guess it was the lying to yourself what made us grow apart. You chose to believe the concept of us wasn't meant to be, and I guess in some ways you were right. But we remained friends, loving the days we shared in our youth. And if I could go back in time, I would get in your car again and lead you into the temptation of my lips. I would have to go back to 17 to want you the same way and to love you again like I once did. Our driving lessons are now memories of 17 and poems growing between my fingers as I think of you. 30 years have come and gone since then, and 30 more might pass. But to me, you will always be one of my dearest memories, one of my dearest friends. Virgin quad, I perverted without knowing. So that was me, and you know that looking back, I'm like, damn, I never learned to drive. That sucks, you know? So, but it's indeed one of my favorite memories. Then, still in chapter 1, I would like to share with you the title of the actual chapter, Undressing Love. And this is also, this particular piece, Summer of 17 actually is not only the winner of the 2013 Pen to Paper, but when I submitted it to Pen to Paper, it was already a performance piece for Sins Invalid. And Sins Invalid is a nonprofit organization out of the Bay Area in San Francisco. And what they do is they come on stage with a yearly show on crip sexuality mainly. So disabled artists will put together a show completely having to do with educating and empowering people about disability and sexuality. So I have had the pleasure of performing with Sins Invalid since 2007. And so Summer of 17 was a performance piece that year. And then when I got back from my trip, one of my coworkers said, submit, submit, submit. And I'm like, I'm like, oh God, you know, I'm like, I don't know, it was like pulling teeth, and I'm so glad that she talked me into it. But anyway, so Summer of 17 is also a Sins Invalid piece, and Undressing Love, the piece that I'm about to share with you now, the title of this book, of the chapter, is also, I believe it's a 2011 performance piece. So some pieces I'm better at delivering because I've memorized them before, like Summer, so you can tell. You know, others I'll be like, you know. So, Undressing Love. Bear with me, bear with me, bear with me. Undressing Love. I'm not sure how I got to where I am right now. I mean, loving this body and loving with this body. This redefined version of beauty. Beauty I share carefully, even when I call myself a goddess, and even when my words can radiate power. There are parts of me I'm not ready to share with anyone. And I say ready because I have learned to never say never, because doing so is like challenging life to make us break that promise. Never, I used to say, never will I show the deep scar on my back. Never will I share my thighs, my narrow hips, my curved spine, the ragged edges of me. This body I thought couldn't speak love, but it does. It does. My body speaks love fluently, although I first learned to do it in the language of able-bodied lovers, sometimes living a lie to do it. Hiding under the covers to conceal the scars, or faking shyness, disguising my crib side as much as I could, using the magic of breasts to distract my lover's hands. Yes, my breasts have always been my magic aces. Taking lovers' places far away from my legs. I spent years trying to learn new tricks, new ways to deceive myself and my lovers, enchanting them with my lips, not letting them see too much of the way I grab my legs, carefully lifting them up to remove a skirt or allow love to fit into my well of passion. And although I've become a daring lover, I still use caution with some parts of me. I have overcome the fear of my scars. Lovers now caress the silky flesh of my thighs. They get lost between them until their mouths smell and taste like woman. This woman, this crip woman who undresses her soul and her body with a lot more honesty now than once upon my youth. Still, there are parts of me I'm not willing to share. Parts of me that still fear rejection. Body parts wounded by ignorance. Ignorance that left them fragile and unwilling to trust. And I will just not repeat the things said to my feet to make them so afraid to love, so afraid to share. Maybe they're just too aware of a world that reacts with fear. Fear of skinny legs and tiny feet that can't talk, can't walk. And that's why mine will not talk to anybody but me. And they do talk to me. They speak in their soft little girl voices. Do you love me? They ask. Am I pretty? They say. I do love you, I respond, and you are beautiful. I touch the soft velvet skin of my legs and my feet. How delicate they are. How innocent they are. Despite the horrors they were forced to live, despite the orthopedic shoes and braces that once imprisoned them, and the hard cast that made nightmares itch and monsters crawl under the sheets, the memory of white gowns and indifferent hands treating my legs as if they were just another example of what a cripple looks like. Another example of what a cripple looks like. Another example of what a cripple looks like. The polio ghosts of my early years can echo such things in my ears when I'm about to love someone. That's why no lover of mine has ever touched the sacred nudity of my legs. No lover of mine has ever loved all of me. When I undress myself, I do so knowing there are those who will think I'm not complete for not sharing my feet with the world. But the truth is, some truths are meant to stay personal. Some things are meant to be loved privately for a very long time before we're able to trust and really let go. And I am whole, and I am complete. My body is a reflection of the great goddess as a crib. With my unusual curves and my immobile feet, I know I have always been a landscape of love. It's emotional for me, and I know that it can be emotional for people listening. And my message with this piece is that all of us, especially those of us who are people with disabilities, we are and have always been a landscape of love. No matter what society has told us, no matter what we have been forced to believe, we are loved and deserve to be loved. And I always like to remind, especially the women that I work with, empowering women with disabilities, is that we have everything we need to give and receive love, always. So that was Undressing Love. April, could I bother you for a little bit of water? Yeah. Thank you so much. I'm like, one thing about reading like this, long pieces, is like we run out of voice, right? Okay, so how about a kitchen poem? Yeah? Yeah? Okay, how many people like to cook? Well, who cares? I'm gonna read it anyway. Right? And you know, and interestingly, the kitchen poems are so platonic in their way of, okay, love me. I often write about hunger and live on a diet of words, and lately on a diet of you, which keeps me in the kitchen a lot, peeling potatoes, peeling cucumbers, apples, and more, peeling anything with a skin, including every sin I've ever won. The Catholic in me sometimes stirs up guilt, but not enough to stop me from cooking the way I cook, from always wanting to look for you in every meal. The truth is that what I feel makes me want to invent new recipes of love. Hold on to it. I become salad and bread in every poem you've read of me. I become a bowl of soup or that double scoop of lust that makes you feel like you must save me for later, like something to enjoy alone, savoring me word for word while I claw the page, trying not to write your name out loud. When I begin to melt in your mouth like an M&M, I'm always the yellow one, bright like the Texas sun, that shines through my window while I prepare or cook the rice, the pasta, the naked fruit I become for you. You say that I am your kitchen muse. You have been mine for a while. You found me when my kitchen was a place of silence, a place of sorrow. You made love taste like food and food taste like love. You turned up the heat of my stove and made of me a daring cook and a fearless poet. For you I am both, amor, a poet and a woman. Steaming words in a pot, metaphors like a hot, dripping desire when I take them off the fire and put them on a plate. Then I imagine you again, loving me as if I were the most exotic meal you've ever eaten, the most delicious woman you've ever had. Sweet, spicy love a la Maria, served over a bed of words. Thank you. Vanna White. Okay. And so the kitchen poems are less about disability and more just about a woman in love with a kitchen and a woman in love with love, and that's kind of like my theme. So that's, I'm not going to bore you with too much love. I'd rather stick to the hot crypt themes, So let me find something else from the first chapter. I'll read you. Just a second, bear with me, I'm so sorry. Okay, this one is called Random Memories. Also from the first chapter. I don't know what made me Google you. Over the years, I claimed to have forgotten you. Throughout my life, I had sworn to not love you anymore. But I guess in many ways I still did, and I still do. Part of me always will. The story of loving this much is not a chapter I can close all at once, although I think you buried the memory of my name in the archives of your youth. So I Googled you 30 years into the memories of a one-sided dream, when at 18, I wanted to believe you loved me. I wanted to believe the sex we shared could lead to the able-bodied fairy tale of being loved by you, man of brown, smooth, indigenous skin, who let me get lost in the idea of love and the reality of sex during a time of my life when I thought neither was meant for me. And I can't say that you loved me. You never claimed to do so. But I know you loved my mouth and my passion, my long wavy black hair and my brown eyes, the way I made you mine in the backseat of your blue van in a random parking lot, while spring spoke of love and hormones spoke of sex. I'm not sure what I expected to find, But when I found your obituary, silence fell over my words, over my memories. I wish I could have told you that I really did love you. I wish I could have told you that I forgive you for driving me to the clinic that morning and not looking me in the eye when the nurse asked if that was really what I wanted. I went home that day wishing I could rewind the clock to the first moment we met, but even then I can't say I wouldn't love you the same as I then did. I don't understand loss this way. I hold on to eternity too much. I hold on to the early poems next to the words of right now and the history of loving someone who probably never loved me. Part of me refuses to believe you're gone. I wish I could have one more chance to see my reflection in your eyes and dream of a Guatemalan moon, the Luna de Xelajú, I discovered with you in Houston, Texas. Thank you. Okay, now we'll do one having to do with drinking. Now, you know what? Let's switch to Frida for a second. How's that? Yeah?
Sure.
So, Viva Frida!
Frida! Frida!
Again, this is called Dressing Skeletons, and I think that maybe what I will do is I will share the actual poem called Dressing Skeletons. Where is it? 28. And if you're not familiar with Frida, what you definitely need to know about her is that she was a woman with a disability. Many people do not realize, when we think of especially as women with disabilities, when we're asked, can you think of a famous person, a role model, somebody you admire, somebody that, inspired you, a lot of times people don't even realize that we had many women with disabilities who were role models way before, because when we think of the movement, the disability rights movement is pretty much white male driven, okay? There were many groups who were left behind by this movement towards independent living and the revolution, the whole Crip revolution. Women were left behind, people who are gay were left behind, people of color were left behind, anyway, so Frida had polio when she was 6 years old, and then when she was 18, she also was in a massive bus accident through which she acquired a spinal cord injury. And not to mention that she was like a kick-ass artist and a revolutionary, an advocate, bisexual, just wild spirit like me, So I like to say that I'm the poetic reincarnation of Frida. So this is Dressing Skeletons. Salías del templo un día llorona cuando al pasar yo te vi. Salías del templo un día llorona cuando al pasar yo te vi. Qué hermoso huipil llevabas llorona que en la Virgen te creí. Qué hermoso huipil llevabas llorona que en la Virgen te creí. You paint the canvas of my mind. You paint skeletons and dresses, big earrings and dead roses. You paint hair, teeth, and bones, the things that never really die, the things maggots can't digest. I hang your dresses, your paintings, your unwritten poems, the bleeding hearts of melons, the sad faces of coconuts. I hang your still life, your naturaleza muerta, and your scars along with mine. I understand your demons, your monsters, the ones that make you paint feet, the ones that make me ride up shoes, you see. I have dressed a few skeletons of my own. Mine were boots and bracelets and lingerie and stripped themselves into poems the way yours do into color, the color of death, although you may be painting life. And so I hang your dresses and your thorns, your internal organs, the umbilical cord of your art, the souls of the bones we cover, your moon, your monkeys, and your sun. I hang all your things next to mine, next to the man I love, the men I've loved, and the women I have dreamed of loving. Like you, I know love. I know it in its crudest form. I know its third eye. its cannibalistic tendencies, the way it devours us, leaving no remains to bury, no ashes to scatter, no tombstone where to engrave memories. Qué hermoso huipil llevabas, llorona, que la Virgen te creí. Qué hermoso huipil llevabas, llorona, que la Virgen te creí. I wear your painted dresses, you wear my metaphors. Bones rattle and shiver, we're feeling cold, but the dead stay cold, even after we've been dressed. Thank you. So the Frida book, this was a collection of 19 poems, all about Frida and my relationship with Frida, how I admire her and how I feel that some of my experiences as a woman of color, as a woman with a disability, as a bisexual woman of color with a disability, as an activist bisexual woman of color with a disability. Okay, and so, you know, I feel like I can really relate to Frida, and it's really been a wonderful opportunity to put that book together, so I hope that you like it as much as I do. Thank you, Vanna. Did you just love my Vanna? Hooray, Vanna!
16 years of being her.
You're so bad. Okay, all right. Let's see. First of all, what would you like to hear? Now that you know the 3 chapters, the kitchen chapter, I gave you a little sample. The first chapter, now, I haven't read you anything from the Box Full of Men. Should I go there?
Yeah.
Do we like a box full of men? Yeah. All right. Okay, so box full of men. Okay, hang on. Okay, I'll start with a soft one. It can get harder, that's okay. You walked right into that one. No, wait a minute, that was on me. Oh, shit. Can't blame anybody. I think that you guys were warned. Adult themes is correct? All right.
Sure it's warm.
Wait a minute. Maybe I should go to the steamer one. Okay, this one is just simply called For Charlie. We were young and free, 2 worlds that came together, fire and wind. You, the red-headed gringo, me, the feisty Latina. I had the fire of your red hair and you, the shyness of a blue-eyed boy with freckles. I loved you from the minute I saw you. You were afraid of my wheels and my Spanish, and hated me for being fluent while you struggled in Spanish class, and I laughed at your accent while you fell in love with mine. I taught you the lyrics to Eres Tú. You taught me to love the wind on my face, and you loaded me up, wheelchair and all, into your love bug, your old Volkswagen Beetle, and we traveled like sardines, singing Eres Tú and Gloria Estefan. We were young and free and felt invincible. I taught you Spanish, the bad words first, so you could conjugate your frustrations. You pushed my chair down the corridors of a college campus while we laughed. English, Espanol, and Spanglish became the sound of our laughter, and I loved you for that. I did. But there was a lot more. We both knew it. We felt sex growing between our metaphors, growing like bad weeds in the Garden of Eden. But you were no Adam, nor was I Eve. We both knew that too, but said nothing. And we did nothing, but did everything. We even did waterfalls and parks, popcorn and movies. We did balconies and music, flowers and love notes. The whole 9 yards we did and more, but nothing else. We just kept singing Eres Tú and cursing in Spanish all semester. I kept dreaming of your red tongue and your freckles, the beast I imagined behind your zipper, and the gringo accent that rolled off your lips when you spoke Spanish. I loved all that about you. You loved me too. I know you did. You loved my unconditional love and my brown eyes. You love the Spanish accent that rolled off my lips when I spoke English. I know you love that about me. We loved each other. And even across time and across marriages, I have loved you and still do. Just not with sex growing between my metaphors. I just love you, that's all. Sometimes you storm out of my closet, wearing my thoughts in my youth, wearing my poems. You become memory, bilingual story, cuento, Prince Charming of my youth. You are jeans and Volkswagen Beetle, freckles and red-headed dreams, blue eyes and Gloria Stefan, laughter, poem, and wind. And you know what really sucks? He lives here in Austin and the fucker didn't come to see me. Seriously, come on, Charlie. Right? That sucks. I should hunt him down and kill him. I'm just kidding. Not to that extreme. Okay, let's see. More box full of men. Now I'm trying to pick the ones that are not too corrupted. Okay, this one is called Through the Lens of Lust. Okay, I'll just tell you a little bit background on it. I wrote this, it was after a show in California, and since I perform professionally on stage when I'm with Sins Invalid, they have a professional photographer, right? And he's been photographing me since the beginning of the show, you know. And for some reason, all of a sudden we looked at each other like, oh, wow. You know how it is, you know somebody you've known for years and all of a sudden they're hot? How does that happen? I'm not sure how it happens, but it happens. Okay, so this particular year, all of a sudden I look at him, oh, you're hot. Anyway, so that's where it comes from, okay? Photographer poem, okay, so that's what's called Through the Lens of Lust. I wanted him to change his mind, but he didn't. And even after we hugged goodbye one last time, I let hope linger and pass through each finger as he slipped away from me, away from my grip and the warmth of my breath, whispering lust into his ear. Be bad with me tonight, I said. And I can still remember his hands up and down my back, my breasts pressed against his chest, and a hug that left glitter on his jacket, lipstick on his upper lip, and temptation in his pocket. I know he could imagine me unzipping with my teeth every one of his fantasies. You're such a sweet temptation, he said, and his answer was no, although his eyes said yes. That was enough for me to add his name to the little black box of men I have loved and will love forever. And yes, I know forever is a long time, but so is the eternity of a photograph, like the ones he has captured of me, while my words come to life on stage and make me feel as immortal as Tina Modotti, although I haven't posed nude in a lover's studio, nor have I had an affair with a man whose camera lens loses all sense of discretion after photographing me. I wanted his camera to lose discretion that night. I wanted him to love me the way he loves his photographs. I wanted to satiate his hunger, make love to him and become the exotic dish I am when I feed myself to a lover. Instead, we said goodbye, time after time, as if wishing we could cheat the clock out of a few more minutes before midnight, so the dream wouldn't turn into a pumpkin when the lights went out. We were the last ones to leave, I guess wanting to believe we could hold on to the magic that I suppose in some ways we did. That's why I imagine him alone with the silhouette of my photographs, alone with the idea of Maria in his arms. That's why I kept his memory raw until it fermented into the words of right now, words that get inebriated with the same magic of that night. And although I do wish he would have changed his mind, I don't mind that he said no, because a goddess knows how to take rejection without feeling rejected, how to put out the fire without killing the flame, and move on with her name and her soul still intact. Thank you. Okay, so now do we want a poem that will scare you or another mellow one? Scare. You want to be scared? You really want to be scared?
Yeah.
I mean, like you want to be so terrified that you walk out of here and take a hot shower.
Yes. Cold shower.
I'm sorry, cold shower. Obviously, I'm not a guy. Okay, let's see what we can do. You guys are going to have to buy the book if you really want the steamy stuff, right? Right. Okay, let's see. Hang on. How much time do I have? What time is it?
It's 4:44.
Oh shit, 15 minutes? Okay. All right. I'll do like maybe shortly, maybe 2 or 3 pieces. Let me read you Memories of April. Another, of course, everything here is almost says a true story, but everything is true story. Okay, Memories of April, another hot, sexy crip stuff, okay? Yeah. Sexy crips! Sexy crips rock! But we do, it's true! All right, this one is called Memories of April. I miss you. I miss you so much right now. So much that I can almost touch the anguish of once loving you with the pain of love that didn't come with a promise of return. Yes, I miss you right now. And I say right now because there was a time I couldn't eat, I couldn't sleep, I couldn't live without missing you the way I'm missing you right now. And it wasn't supposed to happen. Loving you, that is. Loving you the way I did. It wasn't supposed to happen. We pinky promised it wouldn't, as we drank that whole bottle of wine and melted into the heat of us, devouring each other like wolves, kissing and clawing the nakedness of our crib bodies together, the silence of legs that have never made love, yours or mine. Our legs felt as virginal as the day we were born, although yours did run once upon an able-bodied memory, one you can no longer remember and one I have never owned. I must admit, making love to you that night was life-changing. It made me a more honest lover, less afraid of sharing myself and my truths, our scars, unashamed of each other in the nude. You marveled at the softness of my skin, working your hands from my belly to my breasts, and we played like cubs only to become wolves again. And I kissed your neck, your face, so very slowly, moving down to reach that line right beneath the nipples where for you, feeling stops. Then I moved back and kissed your lips, making you shiver with pleasure as you pulled me away, and with your exotic accent you said, "So, this is how goddesses make love, isn't it? You know how to love a man." And I just giggled as I let my black mane spill over your naked chest. Yes, I do know how to love a man, but with you it was a lot more than that, because there was no manhood as most would define it. Yet, the intimacy our bodies shared that night was the most intense I have ever shared with any man, as we made love again and again, dozens of candles lit, intensifying the heat between us. Our crib bodies silhouetted on the wall. Nothing has ever been more beautiful. With me, lovers and loves come and go, but few pierce my soul the way your silence did. Loving you became a constant ache in my heart, pain often dressed up as art, so others would know how much I hurt. Yet, they could still see the bleeding fruits on my page like a painting of Frida. And although I no longer hurt for you like I did before, tonight I think of you with great longing. I guess spring has a way of calling your name, the memory of our bodies together. Your manly hands having a party with my hair, making of me a Maria full of sin as I collapse in your arms the way every woman does after she has been well loved. But the memories of you now are just that, memories. Moments that fade into the night of this poem, the smell of April in the air, your name burning in every candle I light. For the rest of my life, I will find you in the fire of a living flame. And every full moon in April, I shall love you again, like I once did. And I think that it's only fair that I can try to close, because it's a long piece, I can try to close with a poem that actually, this name after this chapter, A Box Full of Men. And if I can do, I'll do Special Delivery, another name, Box Full of Men. Box Full of Men, yay. To all the men I've loved before, to all of them I dedicate these words. I'm glad you came along, you blessed my life and more. To all the men I've loved before. Last night I dreamed that I kissed you. I kissed you with savage desire, wanting to drink words out of your lips. Our tongues found each other like desperate beasts. I don't recall ever kissing anybody the way I kissed you in that dream. Perhaps because you were the personification of all of you, all the men I have loved over the years, the ones whose bodies I caressed, the hearts I have possessed. I keep those in a box, along with your names, now phallic symbols of my past. I think of each of you. In my mind, I make you one. That way I can confess my sins to the world and to no one. But you will know it's you when you see yourself naked on my page. You will know it was us, the passion or the lust that made us whole. And I am unashamed of being me, as my thoughts move down the list, my mental little black book, and I take a second look when I find you, because it was you with me at the airport in Seattle, when we couldn't wait to get into each other and made out in the parking lot like teenagers with hormones on the loose. Was I in love or was I confused? I guess I'll never know, nor does it matter. I've had my own share of zipless fucks, even before knowing of Erica Young and the bite of her words. And you will know it was us in that roadside motel in Texarkana, where we drank beer and smoked weed and laughed at everything until our bodies melted into sex. That's the closest I've been to heaven with a man. I also remember that January morning, waking up next to you, your nudity and your maleness by my side. That was my Cinderella day, your apartment in LA, and that Hollywood dream in the air. To think of you as a stranger now seems unreal. I can't bring myself to call you a one-night stand, even though that's what you were. I still keep your name in the box of those I loved, because in my own way, I did and do. And I also loved you when we met at that fancy hotel here in Houston. I wore my hair curly in a striped dress, perhaps to remember that loving you had once imprisoned me. That night, we drank wine, and I drank from the vast ocean of your eyes. Then we went around looking for a cup of coffee to kill time, while I waited for my ride and you waited for the song to end and lead you to the next dance. Yes, I loved you then. And I loved you again when we froze our asses off on the terrace of that club and dreamed of the party life for which we were so underdressed, shivering in the cold of the Bay Area as we watched others dance into the night. Oh, and how I loved you so, through the distant closeness of the screen, because in a separate box I keep the men who love me from afar. The love the woman they invent. The lovers we will never be but have always been, not knowing how. We just know our souls have made love and peace like literary hippies of another time, because the poets never died even when the music did, and there was no Chevy to drive to the levee, just the literary hippies in our dreams. Those of you who have loved me have truly loved me. You have loved me knowing I'll never be yours. You have loved me knowing I'm loving someone else. You have loved me out loud and in silence, between girlfriends and wives, between moments and times when of me you had nothing more than the sound of my voice, and the only part you could touch of me was the skin of my words. You have loved me, I know, and I have loved you too. But as much as I have loved, and even when my mind was gone, a girlfriend has always known about every one of you. A woman friend was there for me to pick up the pieces you left, help me get up, help me forget. She has cried with me and for me, because behind every man I have loved, there has been a woman I have loved even more. A woman who healed me and rescued me from myself and from you. Over shots of tequila, we have talked and we have laughed. We have talked about your silky penis and your insecurities, about the way your smile curves to the left when you're turned on, and about the way you moan. The sum and substance of your life has been slammed on a table like a deck of cards. You have been my aces many times, but I have also lost. I have lost my heart more than once and my mind more times than I care to admit. Slut, some would think, because just like the strength of women friends, there are those who would condemn my truths, sacando los cueritos al sol, exposing your dirty laundry. How dare she admit to having loved so many men, so many of them? She must be a whore. But of loving you, any of you, and all of you, I have no regrets at all, just a lot of love, and the experience that has grown into who I am today. That's why I conjugate your memory in the present tense. Otherwise, it makes no sense to say, I love you. I love you. with the intensity of my 20s and with the wisdom of my 40s. You're a page in my book, a line in some of my poems, the aces I play when I pull your name. Yay! Well, it has been a true pleasure. I am honored that you have put up with me, that you have tolerated my bad mouth and my blatant sexuality.